Ladies and gentlemen, have you ever felt that sting of isolation? That sharp pang in your chest when the world suddenly feels distant, when your circle of support begins to fade and the space around you seems to grow colder with every passing day. You might feel as if the walls are closing in, that you're abandoned, forgotten, and left to face your battles alone. But let me ask you one question. What if that isolation wasn't something to fear? What if it wasn't a sign of your weakness, but instead the beginning of your strength? The truth is, isolation, as painful as it might feel right now, isn't meant to break you. It's meant to reshape you. When life pushes you into a corner, when it isolates you, it's not because you are unworthy, no. It's because you are capable of something greater than you could ever imagine. It's because, in the silence, in the solitude, is where the real work begins. The work of rediscovery, the work of unlocking the depths of your power. Yes, it feels lonely. Yes, it feels harsh. But understand this, he isolates you for a reason. You are being prepared for something extraordinary. You are being called to tap into a strength that is waiting to rise within you. And I know, right now it's hard to see it. I know the weight of loneliness is suffocating, but I'm here to tell you that this isolation is not a sentence. It's your sanctuary. It's the space where you will rise higher than ever before. You are not being punished. You are being protected. You are being given the opportunity to build yourself up from the inside out. This is the moment when you will either stand and face the storm with courage or fall and be swept away by the winds of self-doubt. And I know, because what you don't see in this moment of pain, in this moment of seeming separation, is that you're on the edge of something massive. The isolation you're facing, it's your preparation, your foundation, the chance to sharpen your mind, strengthen your heart, and define who you truly are. When the world isolates you, it's not abandoning you, it's giving you the space to understand your own worth without external validation. You are enough just as you are, and this isolation is where you will finally come to fully realize that. Think about the greatest leaders, the greatest innovators, the greatest minds in history. They were all tested by isolation at some point. The key to their success was how they responded to that isolation. Did they crumble? Did they let their doubts consume them? No, they used it. They harnessed that power of solitude and transformed it into something unstoppable. But here's the thing, you can only do this if you embrace it. You can only do this if you stop fighting against the silence, stop resisting the solitude, and instead start to welcome it. Because in that stillness, the answers you've been searching for will start to reveal themselves. The strength you've been waiting for will awaken inside you. There's a power in loneliness that nobody ever talks about. It's not a curse, not a burden, it's the seed of transformation. You may feel isolated now, but remember that isolation isn't the end of your story, it's the beginning of your journey. So don't despair. Stop looking at your isolation as a setback and start seeing it as your launching pad. The time you spend alone, the time you spend in silence is not wasted. It's the time you need to reconnect with yourself. This is your moment to discover what you're truly made of. You've been given a gift, a moment of clarity, and it's in this moment that you're going to redefine everything. No one's opinion matters right now. No distractions, no noise, no judgments. You're alone because you need to be. You need to hear your own thoughts, trust your own instincts, and look deep within to find your purpose. You are being shaped. It may seem like a cruel twist of fate, but let me tell you, this is the moment where you become unstoppable. Because once you realize that you are your own source of strength, that nothing and no one can dictate your worth, you step into a power that nothing in this world can take away. Do you understand what this means? In the solitude, you'll find the fire that drives you. You'll find the grit to push forward, to break through every wall that dares to stand in your path. And when the world finally tries to bring you back into the fold, you won't be the same person who left. You will return stronger, wiser, and more determined than ever before. Isolation isn't your enemy, it's your teacher. It's your crucible, where the impurities are burned away, and only the purest form of you is left standing. Every person who has ever achieved greatness knows this truth. You have to go through the fire to become the person you are meant to be. And the fire you're walking through right now, the isolation you're facing, it's just the beginning of your transformation. This is your moment to rise. When you're isolated, you're not weak. You're being redefined. You're being given the opportunity to evolve. Don't fear the silence. Embrace it. In that silence, you'll find the strength you never knew you had. You've been forced to step away from the noise, from the distractions, from everything that's been holding you back. Now it's your turn to decide. Will you stand up and build your future, or will you let this isolation defeat you? This is your time. This is the time where you'll find your true power, your true voice, your true purpose. Isolation is not a curse. It's your catalyst for change. When life isolates you, it's not to break you. It's to forge you into something greater than you ever believed you could be. This is your awakening. This is your moment of self-discovery. You are not alone in this. You're never truly alone, because deep within, you are everything you need to be. So rise. Rise from the ashes of self-doubt. Rise from the depths of loneliness and step forward into the person you were always meant to become. Because in the end, isolation is not just a test of endurance. It is a gift. And in this gift, you will find yourself. Isolation can be one of the most painful and daunting experiences a person can face. It often feels like being abandoned by the world, left to battle your struggles alone with no one to turn to. But in the midst of that loneliness, there is something deeper happening, something that many people fail to recognize in the moment. Isolation, though difficult and uncomfortable, can be a powerful tool for personal growth. It tests your strength and resilience, pushing you beyond your comfort zone and forcing you to face parts of yourself you would rather ignore. It strips away the distractions, the noise, and the outside influences, and in that raw space, you are given the chance to discover what you're truly made of. When life isolates you, it isn't a sign of your inadequacy or failure. It is, in fact, an opportunity for you to build your inner strength. In a world that is always rushing, always demanding more from us, the pressure to keep up can feel overwhelming. But isolation removes that external pressure and allows you to focus on what truly matters, your inner world. This is where real growth begins. In solitude, you have the time to reflect, to heal, and to rediscover who you are without the influence of others. You have the chance to reconnect with your core, to recalibrate your mind, and to rebuild yourself stronger than before. We often measure our worth through the eyes of others. We seek validation, approval, and acknowledgement from the people around us. But when you're isolated, that external source of validation is gone. This is where the real test begins. In the absence of validation, you are forced to learn to validate yourself. You are forced to confront your fears and insecurities head-on, without the crutch of outside approval to lean on. This is when you realize that your worth is not defined by anyone else but you. It is in these moments of isolation that you learn to trust yourself, to believe in your abilities, and to rely on your inner strength. Isolation teaches you that strength does not come from the absence of challenges or the avoidance of hardship. Strength comes from your ability to endure, to persevere, and to rise above adversity. It comes from the resilience you build when faced with adversity that seems impossible to overcome. It is in the darkest moments, when the world seems to have turned its back on you, that you discover the depth of your own resilience. You learn that you are capable of handling far more than you ever believed possible. You realize that your strength doesn't come from the support of others, but from your ability to keep going, even when the odds are stacked against you. Moreover, isolation offers the chance to understand your deepest desires, fears, and goals. In the absence of external distractions, you are left to face yourself, your thoughts, your emotions, your past, and your future. You can't outrun yourself in isolation, and this is a blessing. It is an opportunity for deep self-reflection. You may have been too busy in the past to truly examine your life, too distracted by the opinions and expectations of others to take a step back and assess what you really want out of life. Isolation removes those distractions, forcing you to look inward. It helps you understand your true desires, your motivations, and what makes you feel alive. It provides the space needed for you to reconnect with your purpose and to clarify the path you want to walk moving forward. There is also a certain peace that comes with isolation. While it may initially feel uncomfortable or unsettling, over time you learn to embrace the quiet. The absence of external noise gives you the mental clarity to think deeply, to process your thoughts, and to gain insight into your life. You learn to appreciate your own company, to enjoy the silence, and to find contentment in being with yourself. This peace is not something you find easily in a world that constantly demands your attention. But when you embrace isolation, you give yourself the opportunity to experience a deeper sense of inner calm and contentment. In many ways, isolation is a forge. It is the heat that shapes you, molds you, and strengthens you. Just like metal is refined in fire, you too are being refined in the solitude you face. It is uncomfortable, it is difficult, but it is necessary for your growth. The more you face isolation, the more you build your strength and resilience. You learn to endure the discomfort and rise from it as a stronger, more self-assured person. You are not defined by the isolation, but by how you respond to it. In the end, isolation reveals your true character. It shows you who you are when no one is watching, when you have no one to impress and nothing to prove. It strips away the facade and forces you to face the real you. And that is a powerful thing, because when you can stand in your own truth, when you can embrace the person you are without the need for external validation, that is when you are truly free. The strength you gain in isolation is the strength that no one can take from you. It is the strength that will carry you through the toughest times in life. When you find yourself isolated, it's easy to feel as though the world is turning its back on you. The loneliness can be suffocating, and the silence can become unbearable. You might start to question your worth, your relationships, and your future. But what if I told you that isolation can actually be one of the most powerful gifts you can receive? The reason isolation feels so harsh is that it forces you to confront yourself. It pushes you to look inward and ask the most important question: who am I, really? In a world that thrives on connection, it's easy to lose sight of who you are without the input of others. We live in a society where opinions are abundant, and everyone seems to have something to say about your life, your choices, and your path. We are constantly surrounded by external noise, and this noise can easily drown out our true voice. We often adapt, change, and modify ourselves to fit the expectations of those around us. But isolation removes that noise. It gives you the space to tune out all the distractions and begin the important work of rediscovering who you are when no one else is looking. Solitude provides the opportunity for self-reflection. When you're isolated, you're left with your own thoughts, and while it may seem like a daunting place to be at first, it's also an essential part of self-discovery. In this stillness, you can take the time to evaluate your life, your desires, and your values. You can take a step back and assess whether the person you've become is the person you truly want to be. The absence of others' opinions allows you to listen to your own desires without interference. You can examine your past experiences and ask yourself, what did I learn from them? What do I truly want moving forward? It's in these moments of solitude that the clarity you seek begins to emerge. When you are alone, you no longer have to conform to someone else's vision of you. You can form your own vision, based on what feels right to you, not based on what others think. This journey of self-discovery isn't always easy. It can be uncomfortable to face parts of yourself that you've been avoiding. There may be emotions, memories, or truths that you've kept hidden away for fear of confronting them. But in isolation, you have the space to process these feelings. You are given the time to understand your fears and your strengths. You learn about the things that have shaped you, both positively and negatively. Through this process, you begin to gain a deeper understanding of your true self, your core values, the things that drive you, and the qualities that make you unique. Isolation forces you to stop running from your inner world and to truly engage with it. It's the only way to uncover the person you've been trying to avoid or have forgotten. When you're isolated, you're also forced to break free from external expectations. We often live our lives based on the approval of others. We seek validation from our families, our friends, our colleagues, and even strangers. Our decisions and actions can be influenced by the desire to fit in or to meet other people's standards. But when you're isolated, you are removed from these external pressures. This gives you the freedom to ask yourself, who am I independent of what others think? What do I want? Not because someone else says I should, but because it aligns with my true self. The absence of these external influences can be liberating. It allows you to make decisions that are aligned with your authentic desires, not based on fear of judgment or the need for approval. Through isolation, you are given the opportunity to reconnect with your core values and beliefs. It's easy to get lost in the chaos of everyday life, to follow the crowd and lose sight of what really matters to you. But in solitude, you have the time and space to realign yourself with your true values. You can ask yourself, what do I stand for? What do I want my life to represent? You begin to reconnect with what truly brings you fulfillment, and as you do, you are empowered to make decisions that honor those values, rather than living according to others' expectations. The process of self-discovery in isolation is also incredibly healing. When you are surrounded by others, it's easy to get caught up in the busyness of life, to constantly be doing and moving, and to avoid taking the time to heal from past wounds. But when you're isolated, you're given the chance to slow down, to reflect on your experiences, and to process emotions you might have been suppressing. This healing isn't always immediate. It may take time to unravel the layers of hurt, disappointment, or confusion that have built up over the years. But in isolation, you are given the chance to heal at your own pace, without the pressure of having to put on a facade or meet the expectations of others. You can finally confront the pain, release the weight of the past, and begin to heal your inner wounds. As you work through the process of self-discovery in isolation, you begin to realize that the person you've been searching for has always been inside you. All the answers you've been looking for, all the strength and courage you need to move forward, have always been within you. It just took the quiet of isolation to help you uncover them. By reconnecting with your true self, you become empowered to make choices that align with your deepest desires. You stop living for others and start living for yourself. In doing so, you regain control of your life and step into your full potential. In the end, isolation isn't just a period of loneliness. It's a transformative journey of self-discovery. It gives you the space and the clarity to reconnect with who you are, to face your fears and your dreams, and to understand your true essence without the influence of the world around you. It is in this solitude that you will find the strength to become the person you were always meant to be. Isolation is often perceived as a form of punishment or a negative experience to be avoided at all costs. However, The reality is that it can be one of the most powerful tools for personal development. The truth is, when life isolates you, it's not to break you, but to offer you the chance to rebuild and rediscover your inner strength. It forces you to confront yourself, your weaknesses, and your potential in ways that would not be possible amidst the noise and distractions of daily life. This period of solitude becomes an opportunity to reflect deeply, heal, and transform in ways that can set the foundation for a stronger, more empowered version of yourself. When you are isolated, you are left with nothing but yourself. The distractions of external influences, be it social obligations, family expectations, or workplace pressures, are stripped away. This silence can be intimidating, but it is within this silence that the real work begins. You no longer have the ability to rely on the opinions and guidance of others. Instead, you are forced to find your own inner compass. In this solitude, you can begin to reassess your life. You evaluate where you've been, what choices you've made, and what lessons you have learned. It is a moment of pause, a break from the constant rush of life, where you can reflect on the person you've become and the direction you are heading. Isolation presents an opportunity to reconnect with yourself in a way that is often impossible when constantly surrounded by others. In everyday life, it's easy to get caught up in the expectations of others, to live in reaction to their needs and desires. You may end up making decisions that are more about pleasing others than about following your own true path. But when isolated, the only voice you hear is your own. This creates a powerful environment for self-reflection. You are now in a position to realign with your own desires, values, and goals without being influenced by the demands or expectations of the people around you. You can begin to examine your life not through the lens of what others expect of you, but through the lens of your own purpose. In isolation, you are no longer distracted by the things that once consumed your time and energy. This is the moment to confront your deepest fears and doubts. Without the distractions of social interactions or the pressure to fit into certain roles, you can start to face the parts of yourself that you've been avoiding. This is often the most difficult aspect of isolation. It can bring up the unresolved issues, the inner turmoil, the doubts you've been pushing aside. But it's also in facing these uncomfortable emotions that you begin to heal. You have no choice but to process them. The discomfort you feel in isolation is a sign that growth is taking place. It forces you to develop resilience, to face challenges head-on, and to dig deep to discover the strength you never knew you had. Beyond healing past wounds, isolation provides the space to build a new foundation for your life. When the distractions are gone and you are left with nothing but yourself, you begin to understand who you truly are and what you really want. You gain clarity on your life's purpose, your passions and your dreams. You begin to break free from the societal conditioning that often dictates how you should live, think, and behave. In this period of solitude, you are free to rediscover what truly excites you, what fuels your heart, and what you want to contribute to the world. It's a chance to rebuild your internal foundation based on what matters most to you, not what others expect from you. This process of rebuilding isn't instant. It takes time and effort to shift the mindset that has been shaped by years of external influence. But isolation allows you to break free from this influence and cultivate a sense of independence. You no longer need to rely on others to define who you are or what you should be doing with your life. You are in control of your own growth. You learn that the answers you seek are not found in the external world, but within you. In this quiet solitude, you come to realize that you have everything you need to rebuild yourself. As you continue to work through the process of isolation, you begin to discover strengths that you may not have recognized before. You begin to see that you are capable of handling more than you thought. The challenges that once seemed insurmountable now feel more manageable. Isolation forces you to build inner strength, to develop self-discipline, and to face life's difficulties without relying on external sources of support. You learn to rely on yourself. You discover that you have the resilience and the courage to face any obstacle, no matter how difficult it may seem. The power of isolation lies in the fact that it forces you to rebuild yourself from the inside out. It removes all the external distractions, leaving you with the raw material of who you are. And in this space, you can begin to create a new version of yourself, one that is stronger, more self-aware, and more aligned with your true purpose. This is a process that takes time, effort, and patience, but the rewards are immeasurable. The strength and resilience you build during this period will stay with you long after the isolation ends. When you emerge from this solitude, you will be a new person, one who is more confident, more focused, and more capable of handling whatever life throws your way. The isolation you once feared will become the foundation for a new and empowered life. As we conclude, I want you to remember this. Isolation, though it may feel like an overwhelming force pushing you into darkness, is in fact a crucible that refines you. It is not meant to break you, but to prepare you for greatness. Through isolation, you will uncover your inner strength, rediscover your true self, and build a foundation stronger than anything you've ever known. It's in those moments of solitude that your resilience, your purpose, and your potential are revealed. So, embrace the silence, embrace the space you've been given, for it is here that your transformation begins. You are not alone in this journey. The struggles you face are the very stepping stones toward the person you are destined to become. When the world isolates you, it's only because you are being prepared for something bigger, something greater. Keep moving forward, stay true to yourself, and never forget that you have the strength to overcome anything life places before you. Thank you for allowing me to share this message with you. As you move forward on your journey, I wish you nothing but success, peace, and endless courage. Good luck on every step you take. You've got this.